it's one thing to do something out of I'm trying to make money right now, and it's one thing to do something out of this is actually what I want to do, and I'm going to keep doing it until I get the impact I am looking for. Because then you find people blow through ways that they don't really like, and then they try to like change later on in their lives, like they try to do something else, like pan into what they actually really like when they've actually blown, and then it becomes difficult because people know you for something else. It's like, let's say you do comedy skits now, like people think, oh, this guy's really funny, and then you try and say you want to be a politician, and let's say that's what you really wanted to be when you were like younger. It's going to be hard because first of all, people used to laugh at you, so it's going to take a while for them to take you seriously, and it's going to take a while for them to realize that you're actually being serious.
You have to be able to identify your path. If you're religious, or if you have a personal relationship with God, a personal relationship with the Holy Spirit, be able to ask, what is your purpose for my life? Why have you created me? What am I on earth to do? What impact am I here to create? Welcome to Womanity Africa, where we celebrate the vibrant tapestry of achievements by African women and girls across various domains. Today, we delve into the captivating world of arts and culture, a realm where African women and girls have left an indelible mark through their creativity, resilience, and passion. Joining us today is Susan Pwajok, a rising star in the African entertainment industry, whose talents span acting, music, and even fashion. With her unique perspective and experiences, Susan offers invaluable insights into the challenges and triumphs faced by African women and girls in arts, as well as transformative power of cultural expression. Get ready to be inspired as we explore the rich tapestry of African creativity with Susan Pwajok. Susan, thank you for joining us today on Womanity Africa.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited.
Me too. I'm excited and scared, but we can't do this.
Why scared?
Because it's like, you know how like podcasts now you don't have to sound smart. You just have to like make a point. But now like this one, you actually have to sound smart because you're talking to people that are actually listening for advice. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's the fear. Because
But you are smart. So you're not only going to be sounding smart, you will literally just be yourself, and people will be able to derive so much knowledge and wisdom from your experiences.
That's the plan.
Yes. So, okay, let's start off by sharing some of the most influential African female artists, musicians, or writers that have inspired you personally.
I would say this is so like pop culture and this is so like recent, but like of late I really liked Tiwa Savage. Growing up, I don't really think I was like as much of a fan of hers as I am right now, and the feature she just did with Tiwa Simi is too cool, and then especially the song title, that just makes it so cool. It's iconic.
Man, I'm crazy, but I still want one in my bed.
Too iconic, and like you saw how like they were riled up. They were like, "Why would you name the song that?" It just shows like, because then you have like male artists that will come and sing stuff that would like bring people like women down, and like nobody would say anything about it. It's like norms, but like when a woman comes and it's like, yeah, all men are crazy. It's like, oh my god, we're not crazy, we're just mad. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, people actually said that?
Yes. You should go Twitter. Oh no, Twitter had a fun day the day they announced the name of the song.
No
I was like,
way.
You are really showing yourselves.
So aside Tiwa, who else?
So I would say Tiwa, Simi, and if I was to go like abroad, I would say I'm really a fan of Rihanna. Like everything she stands for, I'm a fan of. Aside Rihanna, I would say Funke Akindele, because like what she does in film is what I'm trying to do and what I want to do in film. So yeah, that's someone I would love to follow her path. But like obviously like you learn from like people's mistakes and like you like better it. So yeah, I would love to follow her path, but like in a better way.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that you say that, because very rarely do you see executives females as executives in the entertainment sector. You see female actresses, you see female musicians, but hardly do you see female record labels, female film directors. But you see the likes of the Funke, Akindele, and Jade, and Kemi Adetiba,
like there's so many now. I'm so happy because it's like what?
They've shattered the glass ceiling in the Nollywood industry. They've shown young girls like yourself
even now, like
what is possible.
I remember when Funke hit the 1 billion mark, I was like, what? Because first of all, it's so different to like hit a 1 billion mark as a Nigerian than as a woman. Like, no, that's iconic. Stop it. Like, I don't even want to hear anything. That's too iconic. 1 billion. Do you know what's to sell 1 billion?
And that's
like,
in theaters alone. Right?
Exactly.
And that was just in Nigeria, right?
That's minus the money she got from Prime, because now Tribe of Judah is on Prime.
Exactly.
So it's like, do you know what that is?
And apparently it was in cinema in Ghana, in other West African countries, in the UK. So the 1 billion was just in Nigeria. My goodness.
And I'm also happy that Nigerians were able to come together and actually watch the film, because it's one thing for like you to put out a great film and put so much PR into it, and it's another thing for Nigerians to actually want to support you and want to watch the film. But I'm guessing she had such a good lineup with cast, so it's like you have to see it. And like the film was so good that like it was like free PR for her. Like people would watch it and be like, yeah, that's such an amazing film, and like the next person wants to see it. So yeah.
So the likes of Funke, from what you've said, have totally redefined what's possible, right? And not just for actresses like yourself, but every young woman, every young girl that wants to delve into the entertainment, arts and culture industry. So there's no excuse again saying, oh, I'm a woman, I can't do it.
No, don't say that. You're not just a woman. We're strong, we're powerful. Yeah, like I'm even tired of it. Like when I hear, oh my God, I'm just a girl, I'm like, yeah.
So if I see you 10 years from now, you have to be a billionaire.
Yes, that's the plan.
Good.
Like literally the plan. I literally was talking to my friend when we were coming upstairs, and I was like, yeah, like, but another thing is that we tend to rush, Gen Zs tend to rush ourselves. And I understand that like with social media and everything, like everyone is like on a fast track to like getting it quickly. But then it's also like, you have to find yourself. You have to find what you like. You have to find like your hero thing. You have to find what your purpose and impact is before you then start to actually actively make money off it. Because it took Funke a while to get here. Like,
of course.
She's been around for a minute. Like from her Jennifer Diaries days, her YouTube days, like now she's like 1 billion streams. So it's not like, but social media makes it seem it's like, it's not just a one-time thing. Like she didn't just come. Like she's actively been working her butt off to be here. So yeah.
So how do you balance the sort of philosophy that your generation, you're part of the Gen Z generation, I'm a millennial. We're not that far apart, but the way you guys distinguish these things, it makes me feel old. But anyways, your generation, you guys are mostly referred to as the microwave generation. You want things right now, like in and out. You want success right now. So how do you balance that act between looking at your contemporaries who have that success immediately? You record a YouTube video, you put it out there. Some people are one-hit wonders. Then people like Mr. Beast, who have been creating videos for many years and they're billionaires today through YouTube videos, you know, obviously goes to the theory in which you just explain that it takes time. You have to be able to exactly. So how do you sort of juxtapose those two scenarios where there is a potential to be a immediate success story, an overnight success story, due to the advent of social media, the internet, and all the resources at your disposal that maybe in my generation we didn't have, and the generation before me. So how do you sort of balance that in advising other young people like yourself, you know, to put in the work and be patient when they can see that they're examples of people who have become overnight success?
This is so funny because I feel like I'm literally living it right now. Because I have a podcast called Surviving Lagos, and I did my first season. It was like a hit. Like everyone liked it. Everyone wanted a podcast. People started doing their podcast. Everything was great. And then I decided to do my season 2 by myself. I decided I didn't really want controversial topics. I wanted more like lifelong topics, like topics that would make someone watch it and be like, oh yeah, I just learned something. Like I did topics with Lekon and Adebolu. Lekon has sickle cell, Adebolu has cerebral palsy. And it's like, those are topics I did. And it's like, when I started seeing my views, I was like, this isn't what I was expecting, because like I had gone from doing like 300k views to like doing like 22k views. But it took me sitting down with like a couple of my friends to like realizing that I just started this on my own, and obviously I'm not going to be here like in the next 2 years if I put in the work and I'm consistent with what I want. It's one thing to do something out of I'm trying to make money right now and I'm trying to blow right now, and it's one thing to do something out of this is actually what I want to do and I'm going to keep doing it until I get the impact I am looking for. So I feel like when you realize that it's something you really want to do, like you can't stop doing it like until you get there. But like if it's something that you just want to do for like, I just want to blow, I'm looking for fast like success and I'm looking for money, like you would get tired. So I advise that people actually sit down and think about what it is they want to do. Like it's not just about like blowing out. Okay, so you blow, are you happy? Is that what you really want to do? Because then you find people blow through ways that they don't really like, and then they try to like change later on in their lives. Like they try to do something else, like pan into what they actually really like when they've actually blown, and then it becomes difficult because people know you for something else, and like getting to know you for something else is like a thing where like it's like who are you really? Like people have learned you for like, it's like, let's say you do comedy skits now, like people think, oh, this guy's really funny, and then you try and say you want to be a politician, and let's say that's what you really wanted to be when you were like younger. It's going to be hard because first of all, people used to laugh at you, so it's going to take a while for them to take you seriously, and it's going to take a while for them to realize that you're actually being serious. So I would say stick to what you actually want to do, put in the work, be consistent. It doesn't matter if the next person like beside you is blowing before you. Like everybody has a different story, different patterns. We're all authors in our own books, and like we have God, like he's the main editor. Yes, we're authors, but he's the main editor. Like I'm not going to say, oh yeah, because this person is blowing, yeah, like why am I not blowing? Okay, maybe I need to change my strategy. No, like if you're going to blow through that thing, you're going to blow. It's just going to take it like a while. It's going to take time because God needs to see that you're also serious about it, right? Before he blesses you. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I completely agree with you because honestly, you have to be able to identify your path, right? First of all, I tell people all the time that you must, if you're religious or if you have a personal relationship with God, a personal relationship with the Holy Spirit, be able to ask, what is your purpose for my life? Why have you created me? What am I on earth to do? What impact am I here to create? And once you're able to identify that, then you work assiduously towards accomplishing that every single day. Because once you start to compare yourself to other people, you'll derail.
Comparison is like the thief of joy. Like
exactly,
you might be living your best life, and then you just see like your age mates, and you're like, wait. And you start to compare. It's like you don't know,
and they might not even be doing as good as you are.
Because packaging is a thing, or people just don't realize that people package a lot. Like,
it's crazy. And speaking of packaging, how do you feel, or do you feel, I should ask, that the entertainment industry influences the way women see themselves?
Definitely. I mean, like you as a 20-year-old, you're following someone that's a 25-year-old, and like this person is constantly telling you, oh yeah, like as a woman you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. Subconsciously, like you wouldn't even know when you're actually starting to think like that and you're starting to feel like that about yourself. Like there's this lady on TikTok, her name is Sharon7. She's called Sprinkle. She literally talks to girls about how you're meant to get money from men, and how like you're meant to embody this mysterious woman energy just so you can get money from men. Subconsciously, like you wouldn't even know when you actually start to do or say things that she tells you to do, and you wouldn't know that you're also becoming like a price. Because it's like when people start to pay a price for you, then what are you?
You're a commodity. Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it really does affect. So when I'm doing certain things, there's certain things like I would like to post. Like I remember my birthday, I was gifted so many things and I wanted to post them. And I stopped and I was like, yeah, because the next 21-year-old is going to be asking herself like, oh, I'm 21-year-old and like this, like nobody's gifting me this amount of money. Nobody's doing this for me. So it's like, I try as much as possible to like limit like what I put out there that is like ridiculous. Because people's stories are so different and people's graces are so different. Like just because I blew when I'm 15 doesn't mean that you know blow and be bigger than me when you're 35. Do you get me? But then because I blew when I'm 15 and I'm posting about it, when you're also 15 with me, you're also wondering what happened to you. Why is God not blessing you the way like God is blessing me? Not realizing that we also have different paths and we also have different high points.
Yeah.
So
how do we, because I mean, like the story of what's her name again on TikTok?
Sharon.
Like I have nieces that are on TikTok. Like I don't know if they should be there, but I see that they have the app on their phones, and I think my 13, is she 13? I always think she's younger than she actually is. She's either 13 or 15. She's on TikTok. So how do we sort of, I don't know if we prevent her from seeing this, if it's possible to do that, or how do we coach her and make sure that people like this insane sprinkle lady isn't sprinkling this crazy messages into her head? Like, what do we need to do?
I think we first need to realize that there's nothing we can prevent, especially if it's on social media, because one way or another, it doesn't matter if it's from her For You page or someone sends it to her or she sees it on someone's story, it's going to get to her regardless. It now depends on the person who is watching or consuming the content. Does the person think that this person is making sense? It also like boils down to how you are brought up, right? Some people are brought up with the sense that some people are brought up from like toxic homes where like their father has made them feel like a prize. You know, like people like get to 18 and they're like, oh, they're trying to marry you off. Like they're trying to find like what husband's house. Like, so when you see those things, you also like, you're like, maybe that is right. Like maybe Sharon 7 is right because like my dad had said that and my dad had said this. But like if you're brought up in a household that teaches you that you're not a prize and you're actually a person who can make their own choices and actually become as successful regardless who you're with or if you have a man or not, then like nobody, Sharon 7 will not, like there's nothing she wants to say that would make you think differently about like your values.
So the solution now is parents. Like parents, you are the gatekeepers.
Literally like parents and like your community. Because like regardless, like even if your parents is doing such an amazing job, the friends that you surround yourself with will also like, it's like if I pour Ribena in a cup now and I'm pouring water inside, regardless, the Ribena is going to get diluted, right? Even though the Ribena was high quality, like the people around you like are diluting into you. They're also pouring into you. So whatever they're pouring into you has to be good quality. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's scary, to be very honest. I have a 1-year-old son, and I'm just thinking the world he's growing up in is so different from the world that I grew up in, you know? And even watching cartoons on television, I have
cartoons are even like for like children anymore. They're like for adults. If you watch some certain cartoons, you're like,
You're like, what's happening here?
Yeah, like, that
like
doesn't seem like a joke a
you
1-year-old would
see
get.
so many, you know, ideologies being infused to condition the minds of our children from a young age.
And it's now like people over there, they're trying to be more, what's the word? They're trying to accept everybody. So like you see cartoons where they're gay people. You see cartoons where they're like non-binary people. So it's like your 1-year child is like watching all of this and like,
why this information and why so early?
Damn,
like
exactly.
why?
Like I get that.
What's
like,
the agenda, right?
I get that like your child can then get to an age to pick his path. But like as a parent, it's like, do I really want my child to be consuming this content?
Absolutely.
Because like what happens to the times where like we're watching Ben 10 and like
Tom and Jerry?
Like,
well, maybe that was my time,
but I
but
watched
like,
Tom and Jerry too,
right?
like Little Mermaid, like
what's happening? And now all these iconic shows for young people, for kids, are being infused with political, you know, ideologies. It's crazy. So I agree with you that parents must be the first gatekeepers. You must be the, you know, at the forefront of the battle line, determining what kind of content, or first of all, bringing up your children in the way that even if they are exposed to the wrong content, they have the blood of Jesus on them. Number one. And number two, they're wise enough to make good decisions for themselves where they are not easily influenced by the kind of things they say. Because you raised a very valid point that there's only so much you can do in preventing them from seeing the crazy things that are out there on social media. Because
you can't say at this day and age you don't want to give your child a phone. Like, I get that that's like you trying to shield your child, but then like
eventually they'll get a phone. Exactly.
Like there's so many reasons why your child need a phone, to be honest. It's like regardless, you just have to pray and hope and try. That's
Most
it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But in terms of storytelling, because you're an actress, you're a writer, how do we start to shape narratives that perpetuate more positive social norms, meaning unwritten rules and unwritten ideologies about the way we see women and girls? For example, on the very maiden edition of my podcast, my guest had said to me, this traditional behavior of cutting your hair when your husband dies, it actually started from one person's story. It was never a thing, right? A woman's husband died in the States in many years ago, and she shaved her hair. And all of a sudden in the community, they started to make that a thing, that once your husband dies, you must shave your hair and you must do this and you must do that. But so we can see that people don't even ask why you do. Yes.
Yeah, they just do it because
you just do it because you assume that this is what you're meant to do. Then people also mandate you. They force you to do it because they also believe this is what has been done from time immemorial, and there's a reason behind it. But in reality, there's no reason behind it. So it goes back to social norms such as, girls shouldn't get education because you're just going to be married off at the end of the day. Who taught us that? And why is that acceptable? And why is that a social norm that is still being implemented in places today, right? Or the stories where, we watch movies where girls are selling themselves, for money, or they're doing, house chores strictly, and the boy child is not there doing any house chores. And so stuff like that. How do we start to create scripts, create movies, create musical content that sort of redefines what it is to be a woman and a girl?
I feel like, first of all, it takes creating scripts actually takes people that actually genuinely care about the cost to do it. Because we have so many writers and so many producers, but it's do they feel like this is necessary? Do they feel like it's important? Do they feel like this is something they should invest their money in? Because regardless, it's a business venture. I'm going to do a movie. I expect to get something in return. Do you get? So it starts with having people that care about actually spreading this narrative. Secondly, MTV Sugar Ninja season 5, I was on it. My character is literally everything you just said. My dad, literally, the first scene is my brother and I eating, and I reached out for the last piece of akara, and my dad was drop it for your brother. He's your boy, he needs to eat more than you. Then he sold my sister off to the landlord because they couldn't pay rent. And when my sister tried to go for a tech school type thing, her new husband came and beat her up, and then they called my sister and was this is your fault. And then the landlord says he wants to marry me next, and that was the cliffhanger for the last season. So it's there are stories that that, but then it takes organizations that actually care about the cause, because you see MTV Sugar Ninja is actually powered by an organization.
Yes, you
barely see people actually putting their money for things like this. It's always organized. I actually don't know why. That's actually a very good question. I actually don't know why, but I feel us as Nigerians and Nigerian producers really just to make feel good things, and they like to make things that people would be happy about, or things juju, things like that. Because to be honest, at the end of the day, it's business. They need to get their money back. I don't think that someone has sat down and thought about it in the sense that maybe I could educate people and actually make my money back, and actually doing it in a good way. I wish Funke actually would jump on something like this. She should. It would make sense. But yeah.
So I from what you've said, I can sort of summarize that it's also laziness, right? Your not inability to think outside, not you per se, but the industry's inability to either think outside the box, or unwillingness to want to shatter the template, right? Because are movies a reflection of the society, or is the ideal society reflected in the movies that you produce, right? So that's the question we have to start asking. Do we want to reflect a society, an ideal society, where women are seen as full-fledged individuals who have the autonomy over their body, their minds, their time, and their ability to make decisions for themselves and not sold as commodity to landlords like in MTV Sugar. And, so are we able to tell those stories in movies and now shape the minds of the audience saying that, okay, this is how our society should look versus you trying to create a movie that is a reflection of our current reality? Should the Nollywood industry and also the music industry be more aspirational, or should it be more realistic? I guess that's the question.
I feel like both. A balance of both would be good. Because at the end of the day, most of these films, like, you learn from them. Aside you learning from them, it's like they're telling people's real life stories. So I wish they would literally just stop telling, like, the real life stories that we've already learned from. Because at this point, like, it's literally like, there's no film that you've watched that you're like, that's an original idea. Like, you've either seen it, heard it, like. So I wish they would just, like, as you said, break the templates and, like, just move forward and, like, actually delve into things that, like, would make people be like, maybe that's actually how we should start acting, like, in this country. Like, maybe that is the right way. Like, because on God, if you don't teach people how to treat you well, some people don't know how to treat people well. So when you show people, like, when you show men, this is how you're meant to treat a woman, regardless of how strong-headed that man is or strong-headed whoever is, they're going to sit down and be like, maybe they're right,
This
Maybe.
man in this movie educated his girl child, and now look at her. She's running for president of Nigeria.
Right.
You start to see an aspirational Nigeria. That would give you hope. That would reorient the minds of those who are watching that, okay,
it's not that bad. Like,
exactly.
I can do it too.
Exactly. 1 + 1 can actually lead to 2. Sending your girl child to school, making sure she can have the last piece of meat because her appetite might just be as large as her brother's appetite, So how do we inspire that, right? So I know funding is an issue because he who pays the piper dictates the tone.
Real.
So
and mostly it's men. Mostly it's men. Because if you go back to the movies that have made an impact in cinema, I think aside from Funke Akindele and Kemi Adesiba Jade as well, like, the rest are men. And do you think the man would sit down and be like, let's tell stories that would encourage and empower the girl child? Like, if us as women do not stand up for ourselves and, like, push, like, ourselves to help each other, like, they're not going to want to, because as far as they're concerned, the world is moving still regardless. It is, like, people are still earning money, people are living their lives, nobody's dying. Like, I mean, people are dying, but, like, regardless, like, they did not make the film and they're not still living their lives. That's literally it. But it's us that know where the shoe is biting us. Like, it's us that can't walk in certain places because we are either sexualized or something is happening that, like, we need to step forward. Because them, they're like, it's a man's world. So it's like,
it's benefiting me. So
exactly,
hey,
like, what's their business?
let's keep the status quo. So what's your strategy? Because 10 years from now, I'm going to be showing this interview to my kids. Like, that billionaire? Yeah, I interviewed her on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? So what's your strategy? What's your 5-year, your 10-year plan to be able to create messages that resonate with, the people? And it's not just Nigeria. You're going to be a global superstar.
Amen.
You're on the right trajectory already. So what's your strategy in getting there?
So I feel like for me, aside just taking it one day at a time, you have to realize that, like, people who have been successful in life didn't just sit down and be like, I'm just going to let God be God. Because
faith without work is what?
It makes no sense. Because literally God says, ask and you shall receive, knock and the door shall be opened, correct? So if you just say, I'm just going to wait for, like, my big break, or I'm just going to wait for God to bless me, or I'm just going to wait for success to come to me, then you don't know how long you're going to wait for. So my plan has always been to be a director, never to be an actress. To be honest, the only reason why I started acting was so I could get in the industry, because then it's easier to penetrate that way. Like, when you've acted and you've done so many other things and you decide to be a director, people actually take you more seriously because you've done so many other things than when you just come and you're like, I want to direct. Like, so from the age of 10, I've always wanted to be a director. And I feel like my podcast was something I directed. Aside my podcast, I want to start doing YouTube short films. So I'm in the process of signing a deal for funding for my YouTube short films. I want to drop 5 YouTube short films before I now decide, okay, I think it's time for me to actually start like making big films, because you actually have to test your hand and start somewhere.
Of course.
Like, what if that's not even what God wants me to do? You know, so you actually have to start. So that's literally how I plan on starting. From there, we'll see how the wind blows, but not really the wind blows, because like, I mean, I have prayer points and I'm hoping that the wind blows in my prayer points direction. But yeah,
in Jesus' name.
like that's really it.
Yeah.
And like, people ask me, because I've answered this question, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I'm like, I see myself where God wants me to be at, like just doing what I actually love doing the most, and not actively having to take orders from people who like I shouldn't be taking orders from. And people are like, oh my God, you don't see yourself married? I'm like, no, I really don't. Like, I don't know that in 10 years I've ever said, oh yeah, I see myself married. Like, never.
How old will you be in 10 years?
I would be 22. 32.
32 in 10 years?
Never would I say, oh yeah, I see myself married. Like, I would want to get married.
But your focus more is on your career, your impact,
like,
right?
Marriage can wait. If it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. And like, some people don't, like, their destinies isn't to get married.
Isn't tied to just marriage and childbearing, which is completely fine, right?
So yeah, it's completely fine. No,
I'm so happy that there are young people like you thinking
fine.
like that, because you have a whole generation of women who were taught and
that if you're not married, then you're not making it in life, you're not successful, you're not happy.
Exactly.
Oh, my mom is a single parent. Best believe I've heard everything. Like, I've heard, oh, you gave us a child out of wedlock. Oh, like, I've heard so much. So it's like, right now, like, you can't bully me into getting married. No, it's not going to work. If I genuinely do not want to get married, there's nothing anyone will say that will be like, yeah, maybe.
And
like,
you have the right to make that decision. Like, that's one thing. That's one message we have to keep on pushing. That
you have the right.
You have.
It's your life.
It's your
because
life.
Like, if you not get married and you're not happy, are the people that are saying, are they going to be this marriage with you?
And
it's not you.
You know what frustrates me the most is that, why is this even still a topic, right? There are so many more important things to discuss.
Oh my God.
And, you know, there are a lot of people with such a huge platform due to the advent of social media. And all you're discussing is, when are you getting married? Like, why is that the aspiration?
I was having a talk with Linda KG Red, and she sat me down and she's like, I hope you realize that most of the women who are sad about being unmarried is because they're not billionaires. She's like, there's no way you'll be a billionaire and like you'll be sad and like you wouldn't snap out of it. There's no way. Like, there's
it reminds me of the saying, it's better to cry in your Rolls Royce than on a
literally,
bicycle.
because she said, and I quote that, there was one time she was sad and she booked a trip for her and her family, like everybody in her family, to Atlanta. And then they were in a penthouse, and her neighbor was, I've forgotten who the person was, but I think it was the owner of Instagram. Like, literally, like the next penthouse was the owner of Instagram. And then she just sat down and she's like, why am I even sad? Like,
look at my life.
Like, what does somebody want to give me that I'm not giving myself? Because she has a child now. So it's like, what can you offer me that I can't offer myself? So I feel like if we all as women get to the point where we're like, we can't wait to establish our lives to the point where like we give ourselves everything, whereby nobody's coming in and saying, oh, I'll give you this. There's nothing that would make you miserable or sad.
That is so important.
Nothing.
That is such an important message
because
to
now
pass
if somebody
on.
breaks your heart and you have money, you travel. Hello. Like,
your heart will mend back together.
Oh, like Insta. But if somebody breaks your heart and you're now seeing the person post another person and you're in the same country and you're broke, it will pay you.
Honestly, I feel like, no, that is such an important message to pass. And I think is equally as important to pass the message that you define what your happiness is, right?
Oh my God.
So your happiness is what you define happiness to be. So whether that's being happily married, having a child, having successful businesses, all these truths can exist in
Literally.
one, right? So it's possible to be, in a penthouse in
And be
Atlanta or
happy.
in New York and be next to Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah.
or whoever and still be married and still have a child
and be
and
happy.
still have many thriving businesses and still be happy, right? And it's possible to be single and not have a child and not be married and still have thriving businesses and be in a
be
penthouse
happy.
and still be happy. So defining happiness is unique to each individual, right? There isn't a general template that as a woman, you must do this, that to be happy. That is not
I
true.
literally had to tell my mom like not too long ago, because I think she was using her definition of happiness to judge my happiness, because for her it was, oh, you stopped going out. I had to sit her down. I was like, I don't know that clubbing makes me happy, because at a point in time I was a party animal. I loved being outside. I loved like socializing. But I sat her down. I was like, you need to realize that because I'm inside the house does not mean I'm not happy. I find so much comfort in my sheets, the AC, and food. God. And then she's like, yeah, but you're young. You need to I'm like, you see, that's what you think being young is. Having to like go out and party. I'm experiencing things on this bed. Social media is helping me experience things. The next person's story is giving me experiences that this person will go
I'm
to the club.
living vicariously
Every-
through XYZ.
Everybody that has gone to the club, I've known what they've done in the club. Social media has helped me. Like, so what am I really missing out on? If I wanted to go to the club, I'll pick myself up and go to the club, but I don't. So it's like, if I want to, I would. If I don't, I wouldn't. And like, I think society needs to realize that like they should stop judging, like using themselves to judge other people. Just because you were 20 and like you bought a house, you bought a car, does not mean that the next person should be 20 and have bought a house, he bought a car. Like, it's ridiculous. When God was writing your story, they weren't writing it with another person. He wrote your story once. He wrote the other person's story differently. Like, you guys are so separate. Like, why? I don't understand. I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's like saying, oh, all the stories in the Bible are the same. All the chapters in the Bible are the same. Definitely not. Like, you hear...
Or all the
like,
individuals have the
sugars.
same story. No.
It's like,
different paths for different people.
literally, Matthew is not the same as John. Like, what are you saying? Like, why?
How can more girls that are listening to you today, and even women who are older than you, gain the self-confidence to be able to stand tall in the face of alternative opinions about their lives? How do they say, look, thank you for your advice,
But I'm not taking it.
thank you?
Right. So I feel like it now depends on what's...
And especially, sorry to interject, especially when that's coming from someone you hold in very high esteem, like your
True,
parents, your
true.
siblings. How do you say, I'm so sorry, I love you, and I know you love me too, and I know you're looking out for my best interest. However, what's good for you
It's
might
not
not
good for
necessarily be good for me. Therefore, I'm sticking to my path and what I'm going to derive joy from.
So one thing I'm very happy about my generation is that I think we are the generation that speaks our mind and we actually speak forward, because your generation, I heard that you guys like would think it but not exactly say it because it seemed as disrespect. But also, we need to realize that respect is reciprocal. Like, I literally had to teach my mom that, because she always said, oh, I don't want you to make the same mistakes I made. Respectfully, I understand that. And that comes from a place of love and care. But as we said, our stories are not the same. The only way I've been able to actually tell my mom, oh, you're like, I've heard you, but I'm still going to do what I want to do. First of all, you need to actually listen to them so you don't think, because they get agitated and angry when it feels like you're not listening to them. They're like, why aren't you listening to me? But if you actually sit down and hear what they have to say and be like, yeah, and don't get angry, just sit down and hear what they have to say and be normal. Like, yeah, I totally understand. But you know that when you're going out, you're going to do what you want to do regardless. Like, that's the only way you're safe. Because you know that you're not conflicting anybody. Because then they can't say, oh, when I was talking to her, she was rude to me. I sat down and I heard what you had to say, but I still chose what was best for me. Correct? Because regardless, you lived your life and you did what was best for you. Did you not? You still made your choices. So allow me to make my choices. If you want to live your life and you want your mother to make your choices, that's left for you. That means you don't want to live your life. You want to live life from your mother's point of view or your father's point of view. But if you sit down and realize, oh, more like, I actually need to make my choices. I'm not getting younger. I need to start doing things for myself. At a point in time, there are certain things that your parents or like people that you hold in high regard will tell you. You're like, yeah, I'm definitely not doing that. Like, not that one. Like when they tell you, oh, why are you leaving? When, like, let's say you want to relocate. You've been in Abuja all your life and you found like a business opportunity in Lagos and you just want to leave their wings and you just want to actually stand by yourself, and they're telling you, no, girl, man, boy, woman, if you don't stand up, like, because at the end of the day, regardless, like, there comes to a point where you by yourself, if your parents are still feeding you, you're like, what am I doing with my life? So yeah, like, you actually have to think about yourself first, because in as much as they are your parents, they thought about themselves too before you came. Yeah.
Wow. That's very insightful. And I think the balance that my generation brings to the table is the fact that you had stubborn outliers like myself. Oh, we were called stubborn many times, and thankfully, as God would have it, that stubbornness ended up being translated to assertiveness in the business aspect, in not old age, because I'm still young, in, this time I'm living in, and it's led to success, right? So I'm very appreciative of that stubbornness that has followed me from childhood till now. But my generation, my friends, and I have been able to balance that stubbornness of, okay, we will do what we want to do, but also yielding, as you said, to the wisdom of our parents and some traditional ideologies that have benefit to us, without simply saying, okay, we know it best and it's our way or the highway. So I'll give you an example. When I graduated university in America, my parents said to me, you must do your master's before you come home to Nigeria. And I said, no, I want to gain work experience before I do my master's. But they put their foot down and said, Osasu, if you come back home to Nigeria, you throw a stone up, it will land on somebody that has a master's degree. So you must get your master's degree. So I yielded. I got my master's degree. And that is one of the best decisions I ever made. Because as soon as I came back to Nigeria when I was 21 years old, for the next 7 years, my career trajectory just took a level of its own. I would have never had the opportunity to go back for 1 year or 2 years to get my master's degree. So situations like that, where the wisdom of our parents, we might not see the essence today, but in years to come, we're thanking them. Oh my God, thank you so much that you made sure my stubborn self, still ended up listening to you. So how do we balance that?
I feel like there's certain instances when your parents actually like have your best interest at heart, and there's certain instances when they're trying to be selfish. Right. I would give an example. In fact, let's not even use business. Let's use like friendships or like relationships. I'm my mom's only child. My mom didn't get married. She's a single parent, and I'm literally her person, regardless. So she's been finding it very hard to watch me actually grow friendships and relationships that are not with her, right? And certain times I see that what she's saying is right about this friend, because then because what they say is like, what an elder will say, and at an Iroko tree, a child not see, or something.
What an elder will see sitting down, a child can't not see even if he climbs the tree.
So yeah, sometimes she's like, this friend, I don't like this friend because I feel like this friend is this and this. Sometimes she's like, I don't like this friend because I'm too close to this friend, and she's scared that she would actually lose my friendship with her. So I feel like sometimes you actually know. Like that time, your parents were telling you to do masters, and it wasn't like they weren't telling you to not come back to Nigeria. They were saying you should do your master's first. At a point in time, you'd have sat down and you'd be like, maybe they are right. I see why they would say this. I see why they would say that. But like, there's some things that are so ridiculous that your parents would say because like they just love you and they're selfish and they just want to like embody you with love. Like I remember when I got in my first relationship, my mom was so like against it. She's like, no, you're too young. Makes no sense. I don't like him for you. I was like, damn. So like, what happens when I want to tell you that I want to get married? Like, what's now going to happen? Like, what's this conversation going to now be like? But yeah, I realized that like, she just didn't know how to pass the message across. He wasn't good for me, but what she was saying wasn't what I wanted to hear.
How would you have said it to you?
Okay, how I would have said it to me was, you're still young, right? You don't need someone as toxic or as serious as that person at the time. You still need to live life. There are lessons you need to learn. Not everything you hear is accurate. What my mom was saying to me at the time was, you're too young. You can't be doing that. Makes no sense. And he's even, you're like, things like that. I don't need to hear things like that. I'm just going to be like, why are you being tribalist? Like, okay, he's Yoruba, Like, I'm not going to want to think, okay, why don't you like this person? I'm not going to want to sit down and actually have a conversation with you. So I think the approach
matters.
Goes a long way.
The content of your speech, because our parents' generation, which probably even older than your mom, they just say it as it is.
Yeah.
Like they just blot out.
My mom literally
and
blots out
yeah.
in front of my friends. I'm just like, oh. If my friends didn't like me, they won't be friends with me anymore. God knows. Because once my mom is angry, it's like word vomit. Like, madam,
Calm down.
Calm down.
But, oh, Lord, it's so funny because I'm sure parents who have children in your generation are listening and say, see these children, just Gen Z. They have no respect for anybody. But I understand what you're saying. I completely understand what you're saying. And it's just that thing. And it's that thing of empathy, right? And being able to empathize with the person you're speaking with, because you most likely have been in the shoes and in the sit that they're sitting in today. So it's just being able to put yourself in their situation and think, how would I want to have been spoken to?
True.
Not necessarily how did my parents speak to me, and let me just repeat that to my child now, but how did I want to be spoken to when I was in this sit, ages back?
My uncle had this weird conversation with me because I don't want to do university. Yes, I don't want to do university. I want to do college or film school. I've been saying it since, but family thinks it's a joke. And it might be a bad decision. Who knows? But really might be a bad decision. But my uncle called me one day, like last year, and he goes, you're 20 and you haven't even started university. At this age, I had graduated. Do you realize that now you're comparing us, and there's nothing that you would say to me now that would make sense to me, regardless of what you're saying, regardless if what you're saying makes sense? Because not only have you compared us, the way you're talking to me, I'm not listening. It's like if you talk to somebody with love or care, no matter how strong-headed or how hot they are, they would relax and listen to you. But if you call somebody and you're shouting, they're going to want to shout back, regardless, or they're going to want to get off the phone because why are you shouting at me? It's too early. Mind you, I was on my way to work, and I told him I was on my way to work, and he said, "What work?" And in my head, I'm like, and then it's like I'm just like, I don't understand, because regardless, like I've had this conversation several times with my family. I'm like, the whole point where people go to school, aside like sounding smart, having a certificate to back yourself up in like certain rooms, because to be honest, like going to school and having a certificate will get you in certain rooms that you actually need to get to in life. I'm like, aside that, people go to school because they're trying to get a job. And if I have jobs, I don't understand why I'm being shouted at. Because I didn't tell you guys I wasn't going to school. I told you guys I wasn't going to go to university. Because at the end of the day, I don't see why I would spend 4 years studying mass comm, medicine, business, law, when I know what I actually want to do, and I can just go to film school and actually specialize on what I want to do. It's still the same thing, because university teaches you social skills, aside actually like your books. Film school, I'm going to learn books about film, right? Social skills, because there are people there as well. So it's like, what exactly do you think I am missing out of? Aside that, I told them I was going to do courses, but these people did not want to hear. And it's like, till now, I've not gone to university. And I think it becomes a thing where they actually see I'm serious, because when I travel home and my mom, they're asking my mom for updates. Susan is like, my mom is like, oh, Susan bought 2 cars. Oh, Susan has done this. Because like now at my age, like I feel like I've achieved so many things, and like my friends feel like I don't brag enough, which is fine, because genuinely, like, I was nominated for my first AMVCA at the age of 13 with people like Shola Shubawale, Kate Henshaw. Like, I didn't need to be in that category. Like, they put me with people I consider like icons, and I was 13. At the time, I was the youngest to ever be nominated for an AMVCA at that time. Wow. Aside that, I'm 20. I bought my mom a car. I bought myself a car. Aside that, I pay the rent in my house. I've directed, produced, and literally edited my podcast. I had a total of 26 crew members in which I fed and paid. I had billboards in Lagos. Like, there are certain things I've achieved in life. I've worked for MTV Base. Like, I've worked for MTV. Like, there are things that, like, I've achieved in life that I know that if I had gone to school, it would take a while for me to achieve.
Is your story... So, if I hear you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying when you're speaking to Gen Z, just put some respect in our name. Yes. You know, that's in summary, literally, right? Just speak to us respectfully. But I'm saying, okay, are you saying that because you're a successful Gen Z, or are you saying that just because your generation, you're like, okay, there's an appropriate way to talk to another human being.
Yes.
Irrespective of age, irrespective of success, irrespective of who they are to you, a child, a niece, a nephew, whatever it is, there's just a way to speak to us that would get to us versus shouting at us or doing things that were done to you that you know
were bad and you felt bad and you didn't like. Why would you now want to inflict it on another person? I feel like the whole point with growing older is that you realize, or I wish people would realize that as you grow older, the whole point is to be a better parent, better adult, and better person to the next person. Because I always say, like, when my mom does things I don't like, I'm like, if she knew better, she would do better. So the whole point is getting older and realizing, oh, I didn't like when my mom did that, so I know I don't want to do that to the next person. Even my friends, I'm like, I don't like how you're treating me. The whole point is to be very vocal and vulnerable with your feelings with people you feel like you can be vulnerable with, because there's some people that will take your vulnerability and like run with it. But yes, like, if you know that you didn't like this when it was done to you, why would you want to move forward and do it to the next person?
And I see that and I appreciate that about your generation. You're very vocal about the way you feel. In my opinion, too vocal. Because you have a lot of people on social media. Oh, no, you hear a lot of stories from workers, employers these days who are like, my employer just came to office and told me, no, I need a mental health day. Like, you are stressing me too much, madam. So I need to take a mental health break.
And like, we're more woke. Because you guys didn't realize you could ask for that until we came.
No, but like, okay. Oh my God. So where do we draw the line between professionalism and wokeness, right? Because, okay, I'm paying you to come to work Mondays through Fridays, 9 to 5 p.m., for example, right? And you're under a lot of pressure, which comes from
the job.
Like, it's standard, right? And you're like, oh, no, sorry, ma. Like, right now, my mental health is at stake. I can't deal with this pressure. So I'm going to take the next 2 weeks off. You're not asking.
You're saying.
You are saying. You're telling.
You're stating.
I'm so sorry. That is not okay. That has never been and will never be. And I will fire your ass on the job.
So I feel like a thing with Gen Zs is that I feel like you need to realize at a point in time, you need to sit down and think, okay, is this 9 to 5 for me? If it's not for you, can't leave. There's so many job opportunities. You don't have to be a 9 to 5er. There's so many. Social media has made life so easy. You can literally be in the comfort of your house and make money. Remote jobs as well. It's like, you don't actively have to be a 9 to 5er. But you see, there are actually some people that actually want to be 9 to 5er because it gives their life structure. I remember there was a time I actually wanted to be a 9 to 5 so bad because I'm so like keen on structure. I like to know how much I'm making a month. I like to plan myself. Like, I don't like, because with social media and like influencing and acting, you can't really see how much you're making a month. Sometimes it's a good month, you make so much money, and sometimes it's a bad month, like you don't make any money at all. But with a 9 to 5, you know at the end of every month. And there are people like that. But you see, Gen Zs are, sometimes they're very unprofessional. I feel like is also as a result of they're not really sure what they want. They're just there because it's good money and it's coming in every month. But if you actually get a Gen Z that actually wants to be there, they're actually very professional people to actually work with.
How do we vet those who are just doing it because they're like, well, I have free time, let me just test this? Because your generation, you guys can sell yourselves.
I feel like organizations should realize that there should be like a testing period. There's no way you pretend for so long you crack. There's no way you would crack.
So most organizations give what we call a probationary period.
Exactly.
So maybe 3 months, you're just there.
In that 3 months, there's no way at least once or twice you'd have cracked. There's no way your boss will frustrate you that it will affect your mental health and you're like, fuck this job. I don't want this job anymore. You'd crack.
Bye.
You would crack.
Drops the mic, slams the door.
You crack. Yeah.
Oh my God. Interesting conversations. But as we wrap up, Susan, I would like to know your advice for females who just want to get into the arts and entertainment industry. What's your number one advice coming in?
I would say if you're coming in, I feel like you should drop all your expectations. Because people think, oh yeah, entertainment industry has a lot of money. Yes, it does have a lot of money. But before you start touching that money, you're going to sweat. And it's going to be a lot of free work and hard work before you get there. There's this woman, her name is Isioma Osaje. She started off as a talent manager. She used to manage Adesuwa, Blossom, and the likes. And all of a sudden, she just picked an interest in film. And then she started like carrying songs back. From carrying songs back, she started to do a producer. From being a producer, she became first AD. From first AD, she became a director. Then a showrunner of MTV Sugar Ninja Season 5. That is like years of hard work, years of free work, years of like having to suck it up and like just show up. Literally, my lock screen says, keep showing up until they call you a genius. It was part of Jay-Z's speech at the Grammys. Keep showing up until they call you a genius. Keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Literally, like, if you keep showing up, there's no way. If I see this person here 5 times a week, there's no way at a point I'll not be like, this person has tried to. Like, I would give you your flowers because, like, I've passed here 5 times a week and you're here. So just keep showing up and realize that, like, people think so short term. And that's, like, our problem. Because Nigerians, like, the country is already so hard. We're just trying to make money and just live our lives. But it's also, like, I always tell my friends, like, the goal is not to blow immediately. The goal is to be consistent so that when you blow, people know that you've worked hard for it. And they're not like, she just blew out of nowhere. Because then when you've been here for a minute, people will even be happy that you've blown because they've seen you work hard for it. So, yeah, that's literally it. Like, just be ready to work hard, be ready to do free work. Just drop all your expectations and go for it.
Free work. Will Gen Z do free work?
You're going to have to. Sorry.
And with social media, when they're like, well, they're paying me XYZ to do influencing work on social media,
but no,
and you want me to work for free
now? That's the thing, right? People think like, oh my God, influencers make so much money, but not everybody can be an influencer. Not everybody has the influence. Like, some people are just pretty girls that have followers on Instagram, and then some people are actual influencers. There's a difference. Like, you can get followers on Instagram from like being pretty. You can get followers on Instagram from having it controversial. But like, at the end of the day, it boils down to having a brand. Okay, they're not going to pay like somebody that just blew up on Instagram the same amount they'll pay somebody that actually has a brand. You might have more followers than me, but just because you blew up because of it controversial, they will not come to me and I'll not be like, okay, oh yeah, you can pay me the same amount. No, I'm going to charge higher because I do have a brand and I stand for something. The other person doesn't stand for something. So if she took 200K, that's her business. I'm not going to take 200K because I built my brand from scratch and I stand for something. So you better come with me like with 1M or more. Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course.
Yeah, so it's like
brand integrity, I think, is another key thing that's missing in the conversations that we have. So I love what you just said about it's not about the follower count. That does not necessarily, that's not the only metrics that
really okay, because you might have 1 million followers, but you have 2,000 likes on your picture. What is that? Is that influence? Sometimes you might have 1 million followers and they are active followers, but if you tell them to come to point A, would they come to point A?
So the advice for these brands, actually, so I don't know if a lot of brands know this information that you're sharing. Are they going for just the amount of people that are following this setting influencer? Are they going for the amount of people who are
So I always tell brands there are different types of influencers. There are influencers that will give your brand visibility. There are influencers that have conversion rates, and there are influencers that are picture friendly. So when you're actually doing a campaign, you have to go for all three of them because they are all needed. Like you can't just say, "Oh, I need conversion rates." Okay, conversion rates, but do people know about the brand? Yes, like the influencer you picked got people to buy the brand, but then you need visibility as well. So you need a big influencer that like people like will see it and you'll get engagements. Same way you need a picture-friendly influencer.
Who would you say are 5 influencers that have all 3?
Whew, that's a very good question. Tommy Care. I don't know if you know Tommy Care. Eniolua. I'm thinking hard. Whew, this is so hard. Damn. This is actually so hard.
Because you haven't mentioned any of the big actresses and actors and musicians.
So my thing with actors and musicians and actresses, people tend to think, oh, because you're a celebrity, that equals to influence. And because you're a celebrity, you're automatically an influencer. I get that because you're a celebrity, there are certain actions you do that your fans will do, but that doesn't make you an influencer. Literally, there are influencers that would pull more crowd than celebrities. No cap. Tommy Care, the person I mentioned, I literally was talking about her conversion rates 2 days ago because I was trying to book her for like a campaign. I think I even sent her to you. Her conversion rate is crazy. Like she calls her fans family members, and like the way they show up for her is ridiculous. But then if you go and check her followers, like she doesn't have up to 1 million, but you see like her fans make it look like she has more than 1 million. Do you get me?
So if a Tomika tells me to buy this, I don't
You're
know,
going
globe,
to buy it.
and Davido tells me to buy this globe, it's most likely that I'm going to listen to a Tomika because I feel more
relatable. Check her page exactly because you feel more relatable.
Yes.
Celebrities are so up there and they have so much money and they like they don't have normal lives anymore. Influencers are like the middle ground because then you feel like you can relate with an influencer better because like they're not as rich as a Davido. Like Tomika is not as rich as a Davido, so if she tells you something is affordable, you're going to think it's affordable because if Davido tells you, oh, it's affordable, like the level of which it's affordable to him and you, it's not the same thing because you guys don't have the same accounts. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah. Oh yeah, but like I feel like there's so many more influencers coming up. I would say some influencers that are making a pull. I would say Priscilla is really doing a good job. Micah Folaring is really doing a good job. If I were to pick one more person, Asher Khan. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos.
I'm so bad with all
He's like the guy that goes around and like gives people like free shopping spree.
That's
He
nice.
gives people rice. He's doing an amazing job. I feel like he's one of my best social media people right now. Love him. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing that insight, Susan. It's been such an enriching conversation
Thank you.
speaking with you. I truly hope that all who listen are inspired by not only your story, but your nuggets of wisdom that you've dropped throughout the trail of this interview. It's been truly insightful and inspiring. And I'm just so happy to see young girls like yourself who know what they want out of life, are determined and confident enough to pursue it. And I truly believe that the world is yours for the taking. Continue to inspire and continue to strive for all that your mind can fathom, because as long as you have God and you have the hard work to back that up, it's yours.
Period.
Period. All right. So everyone, remember that the power of creativity knows no bounds, and it is through embracing our cultural heritage and individual voices that we can truly shine. Join us again on Womanity Africa as we continue to amplify the voices and achievements of remarkable women and girls shaping the future of our continent. Until next month, stay empowered and keep celebrating Womanity in all its forms. I am Osasu Igbenedion Oguche, your host.